Your hair looked fine in the mirror this morning. Tecnically fine. But something was off. Something flat. Something tired. You couldn't name it. That feeling has a name, and it has nothing to do with how much hair you actually have. You are someone who tries. You've switched shampoos. You've watched the tutorials. You've asked the stylist. And yet your hair still looks thinner, flatter, and heavier than it should. Because nobody is telling you the actual reason. They tell you what to buy. Nobody tells you what you're doing wrong. Here is what that costs you. Every single morning, one styling habit is compressing your hair against your scalp and flattening the natural lift that gives your face its structure. It takes less than 40 seconds to undo, once you know what it is. There is something in step 3 that most women in their 60s have never heard spoken out loud in a salon. And there is a technique in step 2 so disarmingly simple, that the first time I describe it, most women say they've been doing the exact opposite for 30 years. I researched the worst style and beauty mistakes and youth-boosting fixes for mature women, so you get simple, proven transformations that work immediately. Today we're covering Stop Styling Your Thin Hair Wrong. And by step 3, you are going to want to stop and look in the mirror. I mean it. Step 1 covers the foundation mistake almost every woman makes before she even picks up a brush. Step 2 reveals the technique your stylist does in 30 seconds that you've never been shown how to replicate at home. Step 3 has the detail that changes everything. And step 4 ties it all together with a routine. So clean it almost feels unfair. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I cover this every week. Part 1, Step 1, the foundation mistake. Let me ask you something. Before you even touch a styling tool in the morning, before the heat, before the product, before any of it, what does your hair look like when it is still damp? Because that moment? That is where the whole thing is already going wrong for most women with fine or thinning hair. And the frustrating part is that nothing you do afterward can fully fix a mistake you made right there at the beginning. This is the first retention booster, and I want you to really sit with it. A woman I know, stunning cheekbones, genuine elegance, spent $200 on a blow-dry tool she never needed. What she needed was this. The mistake is drying hair in the wrong direction. It sounds almost too simple. But if you are towel drying by scrunching downward, then rough drying with your head upright and your hair falling flat against your scalp, you are essentially training every strand to lie down. You are pressing the cuticle flat in the direction of least volume. And fine hair, especially after 50, has very little elasticity left to bounce back from that compression. This one habit is visually collapsing your root lift and adding years to how your face reads, because volume at the crown is one of the primary signals of youth and energy in a face. Write this one down. The fix is to flip your approach entirely. As soon as you've gently pressed, never rubbed, moisture from your hair with a microfiber towel, tip your head forward. Let gravity work for you instead of against you. Then begin rough drying with a diffuser or the cool shot of your dryer with your head still slightly tilted. This one shift deposits air underneath each section of hair, lifting it away from the scalp instead of pinning it down. The second part of this step is product timing, and most women get this completely backwards. Volume building product, a root spray, a light mousse, a texturizing mist, must go on damp hair before heat. Not after. Once the cuticle is set by heat, it is sealed. Applying volume product to dry hair sits on top of the strand. It does nothing to the root. It actually adds weight to hair that is already struggling to lift. Your bone structure is too beautiful to let product timing be the thing that flattens it. There is a specific technique for applying root spray that nobody seems to demonstrate properly. And it is the one detail in this whole routine that changes the result most dramatically. That is step 2. Apply your product to the roots with your head still tipped forward. Use your fingertips to gently lift sections at the crown rather than pressing or massaging. The goal is not to coat the hair. The goal is to deposit product directly at the base of each section where you need structural support. Then let the heat of drying lock that lift in place. After you're rough dry with head tilted, stand upright and use a round brush or paddle brush only on the mid-lengths and ends. Never drag a brush through roots when you are trying to create lift. Dragging pulls volume down. Lifting and rolling away from the scalp is entirely different. And it is the move that gives your hair the kind of effortless fullness that makes people ask if you have had a professional blowout. This single step, direction of drying, timing of product, and gentle root lifting before the scalp is fully dry, is the foundation everything else builds on. Get this wrong and no product, no tool, and no technique in the remaining steps will fully save it. Get this right and your hair will respond in a way you may not have seen since your 40s. Coming up, the 30-second technique your stylist uses on your hair every single appointment that you have never once been shown how to do at home. That is Step 2. Part 2, Step 2. The stylist technique you've never been taught. Have you ever left a salon and thought, why does it always look better when they do it? Your hair was the same. The tools were the same. You went home and tried to recreate it, and something was missing. There is a reason for that. And it is not skill. It is one specific hand technique that stylists use as second nature that nobody has ever broken down and shown you. I watched a woman in a salon chair last week. Beautiful silver hair, wonderful natural wave. And her stylist did something in about 30 seconds that completely transformed how her hair held itself. The client didn't even notice. She was looking at her phone. She had no idea that what just happened to her roots was the reason her blowout lasted 3 days. This is the retention booster you need right here. What your stylist does that you don't is called sectioning tension. And it is the difference between a style that lifts for 40 minutes and one that holds all day. Here is how it works. When a stylist blows out fine hair for lift, they do not simply run a brush through and apply heat. They use their non-dominant hand to hold a small section of hair taut, slightly upward and away from the scalp, while the brush and the dryer work together from underneath. That gentle upward tension before heat is applied stretches the strand slightly, opening the angle between root and scalp. The heat then sets that angle in place. When the section releases, it holds itself in a lifted position because the protein structure of the strand was reset while under tension. This one is everything. To do this yourself, divide the top of your hair into 4 to 6 small sections before you begin drying the crown. Clip the rest out of the way. Working with one section at a time, place your fingers at the root, not the scalp, and hold the section straight up or very slightly back from vertical. Then bring your brush underneath the section and roll it upward while directing heat along the top of the strand. Hold for 4 seconds. Cool the section briefly with the cold shot button before releasing. That cooling step is the one most women skip. It is the step that sets everything. The reason this works better on fine hair than any product alone is because you are not adding anything to the strand that might weigh it down later. You are reshaping the strand's resting position using only heat, tension, and cooling. The result is clean lift with zero product buildup, which means your hair looks lighter, not thicker but lifted, which reads exactly the same to the eye. There is one thing about root color and how it interacts with this technique that almost nobody in the beauty space addresses directly. That is Step 3. And it is the one I get the most messages about. The specific sections to prioritize are the ones directly above and slightly behind each temple, and the very crown. These are the zones where fine hair flattens first, and where lift has the greatest visual impact on how your face is framed. Your cheekbones carry more light when hair rises at the crown rather than falls flat. Your natural elegance shows itself completely when the hair is not pressing downward toward your jaw. Swap out the habit of rough drying everything at once, unsectioned, and replace it with this. 5 to 8 minutes at the crown, section by section, with tension and cooling, before you touch the rest of your hair. The difference is not subtle. It will be immediately visible the first time you do it. What I am covering in Step 3 is the one detail most women find even harder to hear, but it is the one that matters most to the final result. Part 3, Step 3. What color is quietly doing to your volume? Bold question. When was the last time you thought about how your hair color, not the cut, not the style, was affecting how thick or thin your hair appears to every single eye that looks at it? Because this is the step most women in their 60s have never connected to their volume problem. Your stylist thinks about it. The color is not just a shade. It is light. And light is weight. Here is a truth that almost no one says plainly. Dark, solid, one-dimensional color on fine hair is one of the most effective ways to make it look thinner than it actually is. Not because of the color itself, but because of the visual uniformity. When every strand is the same depth of tone, the hair reads as a single flat surface from a distance. And a flat surface shows every gap, every sparse area, and every place where the scalp is visible with complete clarity. Your beautiful features deserve so much better than that. This one is the detail I get more messages about than anything else in this space. What creates visual thickness in fine hair is dimension, light and shadow moving through the strands so that the eye perceives depth. That depth mimics the way fuller hair catches and reflects light at different angles. You do not need more hair to look like you have more hair. You need multitonal color that creates the illusion of layers of strands sitting behind other strands. The specific approach for fine hair after 60 is this. Soft, warm highlights no more than 2 to 3 shades lighter than your base, woven in fine sections through the top layers where the light naturally hits first. Not chunky, not bleached, fine and blended. This is not a dramatic change. It is a strategic one. The goal is to make the eye move across the surface of your hair rather than landing on its flatness and sitting there. Yes, that's simple. Equally important. Avoid heavy all-over glosses or very deep toning treatments that flatten dimension. These are wonderful for thick hair that needs calming, but on fine hair they erase the very variation your hair needs to appear fuller. If your colorist suggests an all-over gloss, ask specifically for a gloss applied only to the mid-lengths and ends, keeping the root area clear of any tone that deepens or flattens. If you are fully embracing your natural silver or white, and it can be absolutely stunning on the right bone structure, on your bone structure, the dimension principle still applies. A single flat silver can look as uniform and thin as a single flat dark. Ask for pearl highlights or champagne tones woven through the silver to create the same depth effect. The tones blend beautifully and the volume illusion holds. What to swap? Move away from regular solid all-over color applied from root to tip on fine hair. Move toward fine woven highlights every 8 to 12 weeks. Focused on the top layer and the face frame. This single change, no cut required, no new products, can visually add what feels like twice the density to hair that has thinned at the crown. Step 4 is where everything from these first 3 steps gets locked together into one daily routine. So simple it fits in the 5 minutes you already have. Part 4, Step 4. The daily routine that locks it all in. Here is what I want you to understand before we talk about the routine. Everything in the first 3 steps only works if you do it consistently. Not perfectly. Consistently. One brilliant blow-dry once a week means 6 days of undoing the work. The real transformation in fine hair over 60 does not come from the best product or the most expensive tool. It comes from a 5-minute morning habit that protects the lift you build rather than letting gravity and the wrong brush quietly dismantle it by noon. Most women never hear this said plainly. The reason your hair looks flat by midday is not that the volume left. It is that you kept touching it. This is the retention booster that stops most women in their tracks. A friend of mine who has beautiful fine silver hair had no idea she was stroking her hair down every time she walked past a mirror. 27 times in one afternoon. She counted. Her hair was flat before lunch every single day. The daily routine starts the night before. Not in the morning. What you do in the last 10 minutes before bed determines how quickly you can rebuild your volume the next morning. Sleep on a silk or satin pillowcase. This is not a luxury suggestion, it is a practical one. Cotton creates friction against fine strands and physically rubs the cuticle the wrong way, which means you wake up with hair that already needs more work to settle. In the morning, resist the urge to re-wet hair that is still holding shape. Instead, use a fine mist thermal spray, not a water bottle which drenches, just enough to reactivate the product already in the hair, then redirect sections with your fingers rather than a brush. A brush drags root lift down. Your fingertips lift and separate. The difference to your crown volume is immediate, and it takes 40 seconds. The maintenance tip that holds this all together is dry shampoo, but applied the right way. Most women spray dry shampoo at the scalp when their hair is already flat, and it is already too late. The correct moment is the evening before a second day style, applied at the root while the hair still has shape. The dry shampoo absorbs overnight, leaving the hair with grip and texture that actually holds root lift better than freshly washed hair. This is the real reason second day hair often looks better. It has texture. You can engineer that texture intentionally rather than hoping for it accidentally. What to swap? If you are currently re-wetting your hair every morning with a spray bottle and starting from scratch, swap this for the 40-second morning refresh, thermal mist, fingertip separation at the crown. and the cool shot setting on your dryer directed upward for 30 seconds at the root. If you are applying dry shampoo when your hair is already flat, swap to evening application on the sections most prone to oiliness at the scalp. Both swaps protect what you built the day before rather than erasing it. The real reason the 4 steps in this video change things overnight is not that any one of them is revolutionary on its own. It is that they work as a chain. The direction of drying creates the base. The sectioning tension locks in the lift. The color dimension makes the lift visible. And the daily routine preserves it so the effort you put in on wash day lasts until the next one. You have been one conversation away from this for a long time. Your hair was never the problem. Now it will finally show that. You just learned the 4 steps most women with fine or thinning hair spend years searching for separately. The foundation technique, the stylist's secret, the color principle, and the daily habit that makes all 3 last. You did it in one sitting. Boom! Your hair was never the problem. Now it finally has the chance to show what it was always capable of. Tell me in the comments. Which of these 4 steps were you getting wrong without knowing it? Was it the drying direction, the product timing, the color dimension, or the daily routine? I want to know exactly where your breakthrough is going to happen. Next time we are getting into the one haircut mistake that is quietly aging women over 60 more than almost any other single choice. And it is not the one most people expect. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.